You know, we've all heard stories about legendary warriors, but Miyamoto Musashi, he was something else. A swordsman who, get this, never lost a single duel. But his real legacy, the reason we're still talking about him centuries later, it isn't just that undefeated record. It's how he took the brutal, bloody art of combat and turned it into this timeless philosophy for mastering pretty much anything. A craft, a career, even life itself. So let's explore his way.
We have to start with Musashi's own words, because this quote right here, this says it all. 1,000 days of training to develop, 10,000 days of training to polish. Just think about that for a second. That's not just about practicing. That's a commitment that spans nearly 30 years just to perfect one single art. This is the very core of his philosophy, this idea of relentless, lifelong refinement. It's the mindset that forged the legend.
Okay, so before we can really get inside Musashi's head and understand his philosophy, we have to understand the man. And the man was, first and foremost, an absolutely undefeated warrior.
Throughout his life, Musashi stared down more than 60 different opponents in duels, many of them to the death.
And from his very first duel, which he fought when he was just 13 years old, to his absolute last, he was never, not once, defeated. I mean, a perfect, lethal record like that earned him the title of Kensei, which translates to sword saint. That's not just a master, that's someone who has reached the highest possible level of the art.
But here's the thing, a legend like Musashi doesn't just spring out of nowhere. His entire life, his whole way of thinking, was shaped by this incredibly violent and fascinating turning point in Japanese history.
So look at this timeline. Musashi was born right in the middle of the chaos of Japan's warring states period, constant warfare. Then, when he was just a teenager, he fights in this one single massive battle that basically ends all the wars. And then, just like that, there was peace. 2.5 centuries of it.
So you have to ask yourself, right? What does a warrior do when there are no more wars to fight? What's your purpose? Well, for samurai like Musashi, the answer was to turn inward. The sword was no longer just a tool for killing on a battlefield. It became a tool for self-perfection. The entire path of the warrior became this personal quest for self-mastery.
All right, so near the end of his life, Musashi literally retreats to a cave to basically download a lifetime of conflict, strategy, and insight onto the page. And the result was his masterpiece, The Book of Five Rings. At the very heart of his book is this concept he calls Hai-Ho, or the way of strategy. But Musashi was really clear about this. This wasn't just some manual for sword fighting. No. He saw it as a universal principle, a master key for achieving mastery in any discipline. It doesn't matter if you're a carpenter, a general, an artist, or a CEO. The principles are the same. And he's structured this way across 5 scrolls, each one named for an element. Think of them as different mindsets. Earth is your foundation. It's about mastering the absolute fundamentals of your craft, no shortcuts. Water is all about adaptability. Your mind needs to be fluid, formless, taking the shape of whatever challenge you face. Fire is that in-the-moment intensity, understanding timing and rhythm in conflict. Wind is about knowing your competition, about studying other styles and schools to better understand your own. And finally, you have heaven, or emptiness. And that's the ultimate goal. A state of mind where technique and ego just fall away, and action becomes effortless.
And this really gets to Musashi's central belief. Fancy techniques are secondary. True victory, and more importantly, true mastery, comes from cultivating a totally unshakable state of mind.
You know, Musashi makes this really crucial distinction. A hit, he says, can be an accident. It's a lucky shot. But a strike is totally different. It's deliberate. It's conscious. It's born from total awareness. It is the absolute difference between dumb luck and pure mastery. And his most famous duel is the perfect example of this. So picture this. He's facing his greatest rival, Sasuke Kojiro. Musashi shows up hours late for the duel. He's uncamped, and the weapon he brings? It's a wooden sword he literally just carved from a spare oar on the boat ride over. Now this was a psychological masterstroke. While Kojiro is pacing, fuming, getting angrier by the second, Musashi remained in this state he called the body of a rock. A mind so rooted, so powerful, so unmovable that no amount of external chaos could even touch it. The duel was won before a single sword was drawn.
And this all builds to his ultimate principle, emptiness. Now this isn't about nothingness. It's about a mind that's been cleared of all the junk, all the doubt, the ego, the hesitation. By freeing himself from the distraction of his opponent's rage, or what other people thought of his strange weapon, Musashi saw the duel with perfect crystal clarity. and that clarity allowed him to deliver a single decisive strike. That is emptiness in action. Okay, so, just 1 week before he died, Musashi took his entire life's philosophy and distilled it down into one final powerful code for living.
The result was the Dakodo, which translates to the way of walking alone. It's just 21 short, powerful precepts. And this wasn't another sword fighting manual. This was a guide to life, one built on incredible discipline, honor, and a kind of radical self-reliance.
And these precepts are so practical. Do not regret what you have done. Never be jealous of others. They demand this incredible self-reliance, like respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. They demand integrity. You can abandon your own body, but you must hold on to your honor. And then the final rule just ties the whole thing together. Never stray from the way of strategy. You see, for Musashi, the path itself was the destination.
In the end, Musashi's way was never really about the sword, was it? The sword was simply the tool he used to polish his spirit, to forge his mind. His true subject was mastery itself. And that leaves all of us with a really big question. What is your sword? What is the craft, the skill, the path that you will use to walk your own way toward mastery?